Hey everyone, and welcome back to the AI Research Roundup. I'm your host, Alex, and as always, we dive into the latest in AI research. Alright, so today we're focusing on a really interesting paper titled InternVL3, Exploring Advanced Training and Test Time Recipes for Open Source Multimodal Models. This one was published April 14th, 2025. So the big idea here is a new approach to pre-training these multimodal models, instead of taking a text model and kind of bolting on vision capabilities later. InternVL3 learns language and visual understanding together, right from the start, in a single step. This unified training seems to really help with performance and avoid some common challenges, getting state-of-the-art results for open source models. Okay, and speaking of open source, the authors have actually put the code up on GitHub for everyone. So this image we're looking at is the repository page. You can see it includes the implementation for the whole InternVL family, things like quick start guides, chat demos, and a model zoo covering different versions, including InternVL3. They've also got training and evaluation scripts, if you want to experiment with it yourself. Alright, and this really ties into their performance claims, which brings us to this first figure. So this table basically lays out the multimodal performance results. It's comparing the different InternVL models, including the new VL3 versions we're talking about, against other open-source MLLMs, and even some of the big proprietary ones, like Claude 3.5 Sonnet, ChatGPT 4o, and Gemini 2.5 Pro. Well, looking down the rows at benchmarks like MMMU, MathVista, and OCR Bench, you can see InternVL3, especially the 78B version, is achieving really strong scores, often state-of-the-art for open-source models and quite competitive overall. Okay, building on those performance numbers, this next figure gives us another perspective. So instead of a table of specific benchmarks, this is a plot. It shows the overall OpenCompass average score, that's on the vertical axis, against the number of parameters in billions, which is along the bottom. Well, you can see the different models plotted out, and generally, bigger models score higher. What's notable here is how well the InternVL3 models perform for their size, especially the 78B version way up there, really pushing the state-of-the-art for open source and getting close to the top proprietary models on this leaderboard. So we just looked at that plot showing the OpenCompass scores, and this table, Table 1, actually breaks down the specific models in the InternVL3 series that were plotted. You can see the different model names, like InternVL3 to 1B up to 78B, along with the number of parameters. It also tells us which vision encoder and language model components they used. For example, the larger 38B and 78B models use the bigger InternVIT6B vision encoder. And, well, looking at that last column, the OpenCompass academic score, you see the scores increasing with model size, confirming what we saw on the plot, culminating in that 79.5 score for the 78B version. Okay, so following up on the specific InternVL3 models and their overall scores, this table, Table 2, dives deeper into performance on particular types of tasks, specifically multimodal reasoning and mathematical benchmarks. You can see columns for things like MMMU, MathVista, MathVision, and others. Well, looking at the results, the InternVL3 models, especially the larger ones like the 78B version, are putting up impressive numbers. For example, on MMMU, InternVL3 to 78B hits 72.2, which is top tier for open source models and really competitive with models like GPT 4o and Claude 3.5 Sonnet listed below it. It shows this unified pre-training helps with these complex reasoning skills. Okay, so we just saw how InternVL3 handles reasoning and math tasks in Table 2. Now, Table 3 shifts focus to another important area, OCR, chart and document understanding. This table compares the models across benchmarks like OCR Bench, DOCVQA, ChartQA, and others that test reading text and images and understanding visual documents. Well, looking again at InternVL3 to 78B, it achieves a score of 906 on OCR Bench and 95.4 on DOCVQA. These are really solid results. Again, leading among open source models and competing well with the proprietary ones. It really shows the model is strong at extracting and interpreting information from complex visual formats like documents and charts. Alright, so we just saw its strength in document and chart understanding. This next table, Table 4, takes it a step further, looking at how well these models handle multiple images together, and also how they perform on more general, real-world understanding benchmarks. Well, looking at the InternVL3 to 78B row again, it achieves strong overall scores like 68.0 for multi-image tasks and 73.6 for real-world understanding. This really highlights its ability to process complex visual inputs and apply its understanding broadly, again, performing at the top for open-source models. Okay, so building on that broad understanding we saw, Table 5 here takes a look at comprehensive multimodal understanding, but also adds a really important dimension, hallucination performance. Well, it uses benchmarks like MM*, HalluBench, and POPE to measure how well models understand complex scenes and how often they might, hallucinate details. And again, InternVL3 to 78B performs very well, getting an 82.0 on MM* overall, and a solid 59.1 average on HalluBench. This suggests it's not only capable across many tasks, but also more reliable, less prone to making stuff up. So, wrapping up our look at InternVL3, we've seen it really push the boundaries for open-source multimodal models. It's not just strong in specific areas like reasoning or OCR, but demonstrates broad capability and improved reliability, reducing those pesky hallucinations we just talked about. This work is really important, offering powerful open alternatives and showing how advanced training recipes can significantly boost performance. Well, thanks for tuning in to the AI Research Roundup. I'm Alex. Catch you next time.